Welcome to the GameChangers podcast. We sit down with powerful industry leaders and uncover the secrets to success in solving real-world problems. I'm your host, Kenny Au. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the GameChangers podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Au.
And I'm Felix Margo. Pleasure to be here with you.
Yes, and today we're very excited to have one of the top China blockchains founder, Jun Li, here with us today. How are you doing, Jun Li?
Yeah, hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to share the things we are doing right now. Exciting for that.
Okay, so Jun Li, he's the founder of Ontology, and how big is the team currently?
Yeah, currently it's more than nearly 150 people in mostly in China and the United States, Europe, and Japan, Korea. Yeah, it's a global team right now. Yeah.
Okay, please let us know how you first started with Ontology.
Yeah, that is 4 years ago, and in that time, and Ethereum just released in 1-2 years. Of course, Ethereum is more focused on digital assets. So I realized we need a different kind of ledger or public protocol infrastructure to support as a public ledger for different information. The other information, except for the digital assets, include digital identity, decentralized identity, data, and other kind of information. So Ontology is a public protocol is focused on the decentralized identity data as a public ledger. Of course, they also can issue digital asset as well, but our major focus is decentralized identity and the data. Yeah.
Okay, so what was the blockchain world like back then? You know, a few years ago.
Yeah, 4 and 5 years ago, only Bitcoin have some topic. Ethereum still in the very early stage, and people just talk about blockchain technology. That time is no ecosystem, no a lot of dApps, of course no DeFi. So mostly is one is Bitcoin, and another is kind of a little bit blockchain technology for it. So it's very early stage. Yeah.
Right. So during that time, what was that like? You know, in the China community.
Yeah, China community most is only for the Bitcoin, especially the miner. People is doing mining Bitcoin, but in that time, Bitcoin is still not high price, right? It's a very small group and a small audience group in China. The most major stream media, major stream people even don't know Bitcoin, don't know the blockchain at that time. So it's very geek group. Of course, right now it's better. More and more people know that and become more and more popular.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
You know, I remember the first time I heard about this use case, digital identity on the blockchain. You know, it was like super exciting, and I remember back actually at that time, you know, everything was kind of blockchain, and we were able to find like love on the blockchain or water on the blockchain, and the crazy times of 2017 where everybody started to create a new project. I thought this for me really stood out and was kind of quite the obvious thing to do on the blockchain next to financial transactions. I mean, if you now look back, you know, having this use case and working on it for so long time, what do you think like has changed in the space, and how is that use case still relevant in the context of current events?
Okay. Yeah, currently already have some use case and real usage for decentralized identity. Just like we work with Daimler, have the car data. User can manage their car data in their car directly, and also include the credit-based decentralized finance. People can use his on-chain information as credit info to do the lending and the more the different kind of financial service on chain decentralized. But to be honest, decentralized compared with digital assets, decentralized identity and decentralized data is kind of long journey for blockchain industry. in most case, DeFi and as people still must have the identity. People just can use account without any real information, real identity. They can join the DeFi and digital assets and trading, etc. So, so that means decentralized identity and the data still in the very initial phase right now, compared with digital assets. So it's a long journey. But one day, if blockchain's scenario or solution want to touch real mainstream business scenarios, identity and the data, and include the reputation credit is must have fundamental elements. So we are waiting for that. We are do ready a lot of preparation for that. Currently, we can say technically we are ready for that point. In next phase, we need to have a more scenario and a more ecosystem for that kind of direction. Yeah.
That's a great answer. Thank you. And you just mentioned DeFi. I mean, for me, looking at the blockchain space, I gotta say a lot has changed in 2020. For me, if to summarize it in a few bullet points, I would say the main difference is that stuff is working now. It's not only a dream. So we are really advanced in that. And obviously all financial application use cases, especially when we look at decentralized finance, have suddenly become super, super interesting and really, really took off. So what in your perspective has changed? And you just mentioned DeFi, that actually you do not need identity. So what has changed first? And second, is there anything where you think like the identity can really, or blockchain can profit from digital identity or non-blockchain?
Okay. Actually, for the finance service, if you compare with traditional finance service, you'll find most traditional finance is based on your credit information. It's quite important, and your real identity, the identity for people and also for devices, for the assets, etc. That means you can really use the financial service to get more money. And but currently DeFi, you actually use, for example, you use $150 Bitcoin to have a lending platform to get to the $100 Ethereum. That kind of finance service is very kind of the simple thing. Is compared with traditional financial service. They have different models. So, but if you want to have a real financial service like traditional world they are doing, the identity and the data, and also need a reputation credit information to build a kind of decentralized credit information reputation system to support the new financial service models coming. That is, I think, the DeFi in next generation, next phase. Identity will become important thing. But currently, of course, in current phase, for example, Compound, F, or the Uniswap, they needed identity. They just kind of totally decentralized things. But that also means this not kind of mainstream financial service compared with traditional financial service. So we are looking forward to the next phase, how the DeFi can become DeFi version 2. They have a more credit information we are becoming. Yeah.
So we talked about digital identity, reputation. How do they relate to the Ontology token? And what's the economics behind that?
Yeah. Ontology will be, for example, if you want to register decentralized identity, Ontology will become a ledger to manage the identity and register the identity and also verify the identity or information in the different scenario or depths, and also do the data exchange or data store in the blockchain. All those things will be used Ontology public blockchain or public ledger. The ledger needs the gas fee for that, ONG. All the ONG be used in those scenarios will return to the ONT holder. So that's its model to benefit all the ONT holder and the ONT ecosystem. If you have a more case to use decentralized identity and the data, and also include like the STO or NFT, those kind of specific special digital assets linked to the real identity or real data, all those kind of information on Ontology blockchain the gas fee will benefits to the ONT holder. Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Like why, me as a simple investor, I go out there, I see a million coins right now. I really have a hard time of choosing what should I buy? How is your pitch to somebody who should buy the token and why you think it has value and value going
Yeah.
up?
Yeah. For example, currently, if you are ONT holder, you can do the staking to the Ontology network as to the Ontology different validating nodes and pools. The APY, you will got to return, ONG return. The APY is currently one of the highest return for the post staking process. And based on that, more and more ONG will be used or in the different more scenarios. That means the return for the ONG will more and high. And for other platform from Ontology ecosystem, like lending platform, Ontology token also can be the LP token or some lending token. You can go to the APY or profits directly for that. But looking forward in future, I believe the gas fee usage will be the most higher return for the ONT holder. It depends on your scenario, how it grows.
Yeah, amazing. That's a great answer. What is kind of from a demographic standpoint, what does like the typical Ontology user look like? How is your user base? Where are they? How old are they? Do you have any info on that?
Okay. Ontology user actually is, for example, you can manage your own identity, and you can got your credit score based on your on-chain information or off-chain information. And also you can use that to participate some crediting for financial service, like the Win Finance platform. And also you can use Onto wallet to manage your identity, data, digital assets directly, and also can do the integrated or interaction with other public blockchain like Ethereum and Binance Chain and Polkadot. So that means you can use Ontology identity protocol and the Onto wallet as your intro to the blockchain world to manage all kind of information on blockchain. Not only digital assets, also include your identity and data. So that is a very typical usage case for most individual users. Yeah.
So for non-blockchain companies, how would they be able to use identity solutions? What would they have to do and change on their on a business and also operational level?
Okay. Actually, the decentralized identity is not must have link to the blockchain. For the traditional system, also can use decentralized identity as an integrated connector or kind of plug-in modules. They have their own centralized identity system or account system in their currently centralized system. And also they can have a bridge, use a decentralized identity protocol as bridge, link to the other identity system, the outside external identity system, and use a decentralized identity that can as a mapping, as a connector to different identity system. That means if they want to do external cooperation, they can use a decentralized identity protocol as a bridge to link to a different system and mapping to one identity to finish the mapping work and to the integrated identity manager work. The user also can manage the data by themselves. That means identity protocol, decentralized identity protocol, not only link to the blockchain system, also can link to the all kind of traditional IT system directly as a cooperation bridge for that. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. You just mentioned Wing Finance, so that was, as of my knowledge, the first start for you into DeFi and trying out new paths. I mean, I assume there's a lot in the pipeline for you guys. What is that, and how would you summarize that? Are there other projects? Is there anything coming up in the DeFi world? What are you working on?
Yeah, of course, we still will have a lot of new pool and a new platform product for Wing will coming. For example, we will have a kind of bond pool or NFT pool. That means you can use any kind of digital assets like NFT digital assets to as a lending assets for that. People can do their peer-to-peer lending based on that. So every kind of assets will can be used for the lending platform, and of course included the credit-based information. Already go live. That is inclusive pool. You can just use your credit information to get money from platform. Not only you needn't to put another assets to get another assets. So that is things. Another way we'll do a lot of aggregate for DeFi, include the DEX aggregate, DeFi aggregate, and based on that, we will still use on-chain, different kind of users on-chain information and or behavior information. For example, how many assets you have, or your previous your before in the history, how many assets you have, what kind of DeFi you participate in before, and what kind of history in your on-chain or off-chain. All those aggregate and also as a data connector, you can manage all your data to create a new credit information. And also information will support you for lending, for insurance, for all kinds of financial service, or even other kind of decentralized scenario. For example, decentralized social network or decentralized DAO or online on-chain governance, etc. So that is Ontology more focused on in next phase.
So based on what you mentioned just now, what kind of cooperations are you looking for within the blockchain industry would be a perfect partner, and why?
Yeah, it's two kinds of major cooperation. One is, of course, decentralized identity. For example, Ontology decentralized identity protocol already becomes the only one protocol on Binance Chain right now, and also is a major protocol, decentralized identity protocol in Polkadot, and Ethereum, etc. We want all the major platform. We will prive as the major or the best identity and data protocol provider. That means all those kind of users in this platform, when they use the DID or decentralized data, Ontology protocol become important feature. We also use all those protocol will integrate together as globally they can link together to manage your data, no matter you use what kind of platform right now. That is one. Another is data. Because our decentralized data protocol linked to all kind of on-chain data, off-chain data, all the on-chain platform, different platform, the data will become our data information, parts of data information. Based on that, a lot of credit information and reputation information will be built. So those kind of two major cooperation we are looking forward to with a different platform, different depths, different DeFi. So we actually is talk a lot of partner we are doing right.
Okay, that's a great answer. So, I mean, I'm really wondering, where this DeFi world's going, and we see more and more news coming out where everybody's talking about we gotta get regulated. It will happen. DeFi is going to be prohibited soon. So, I guess your solution can really help there. So
yeah,
I would love to see, something where the old and the new will connect in a decentralized way.
Yeah. So what do we expect from Ontology in the second quarter of this year? What are we looking at?
Yeah, one thing is we will have a more we call it as a universal decentralized identity protocol. They will support more platform, except for the Ethereum, Binance, Polkadot, and where more platform will integrated our decentralized data and the identity protocol. And on two wallets, will almost cover all kinds of major platform right now. We will link to the more depths and the more DeFi use onto as an intra wallet, not only manage assets, but also manage identity and data. Another is NFT or STO. We already have some kickoff cooperation right now. That is special STO or NFT. They need the identity. Of course, have some NFT that needn't identity, but some NFT they will link to the real information, real identity. They will use a decentralized identity to manage that. This kind of special assets will be issued on Ontology data and identity protocol. So that is Q2. We will have really release some new kind of depths or the functionality for those directions.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's about it, for today.
Is there anything else you would like to share? Anything else we should have asked and didn't?
Yeah. Only one thing is, yes, I think touch more users, especially the users in traditional world, is important because most currently users in blockchain industry is kind of digital assets users. They use digital assets, trading and lending, etc. But most traditional worlds, the users still not coming. They need more scenario to touch that. I think the decentralized identity and data is a good way to import more the outside users become blockchain users. So that is we are looking for and continue to do that.
I couldn't agree more. I would even add to that, it's on us to provide easy solutions and something where kind of blockchain happens in the background and just brings the user benefit on the front end, essentially. That's the moment we will take off. But I feel we have come quite far already. It's better than it was a couple of years ago.
Okay,
Li Jun. So thank you for having you today. On our GameChangers podcast. It's always a pleasure having you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yes, happy to be here. Yeah.
And we look forward to having you in the second quarter again. Give us more updates then.